In the original adventure, Cave I, the Cave of the Minotaur, was fiendishly nasty to the players in particular, and a skilled dungeon master could easily make this one of the most memorable encounters ever. The axiom, less is more, is especially true when this cave is run in its original form. The first line to the dungeon master reads, "This labyrinth houses a number of nasty things, but worst is a fiendishly clever minotaur who abides herein. Immediately upon entering the place, adventurers will feel slightly dizzy, the effects of a powerful spell which will cause them to lose all sense of direction." Later it is stated, "After 30 feet past the cave mouth, a spell of direction confusion, a special spell, will begin to function. So start to misdirect them by naming incorrect directions. In other words, southeast instead of northeast, east instead of west, etc. Don't worry about calling the same passage as a different location should they travel over the same route twice. That is the effect of the magic on them. You may wish to follow the mapping character, a secret saving throw, every couple of turns, a 19 or 20 indicating the effect has been worn off." That last line is notable for two reasons. First, that is an indication of a rules discrepancy when it came to a saving throw under the rules of the time. And secondly, it is the first indication that modern saving throw rule was being thought about from the very beginning of the game. A player's saving throw depended on their class and level at that time, and also the kind of save. Today, ever since the 3.0 rules, there are three basic saves, that of fortitude, reflex, and will. The higher the roll, the better for the player, providing they meet or exceed the target number, and the player succeeds. In older versions of the game, however, a saving throw varied between the type of magic or method. In other words, saves were based on paralysis, poison, wands, dragon breath, or the ability to bend bars and lift gates, for example. And this number varied between the classes, races, and levels. One needed to roll at or below the target number in order to succeed. As written, the dungeon was not only meant to get the players hopelessly lost, but also began to whittle them down with encounters from fire beetles and sturges, which often attacked in large numbers, but were otherwise easy to defeat on their own, providing a player didn't get separated from the group. Then they likely would come across the Minotaur, of whom is in league with the bugbears, exchanging dirty deeds done dirt cheap by eating slaves given in payment. May the many-faced god of luck be with the poor player that is offered up to the Minotaur by the bugbears after being captured. Running this, as written, always proved a challenge for me and most novice dungeon masters, as savvy players very quickly caught on, especially when they were mapping the dungeon, that something was amiss, and the players would feel cheated for two reasons, both of which were valid. On one hand, there was no spell of direction confusion that they could learn how to defeat, and or it was obvious that the DM is intentionally misleading the players into a railroad encounter. This created a toxic environment of DM versus player, which was typical of the time. This is mostly a problem with immature or uncooperative players. There is a better way to run this dungeon, where a DM can get the players spooked while increasing the rising tension, creating a sense of doom and dread, all the while without making the players feel like they are against the DM or that the DM is being unfair. And what happens if your players don't like mapping their way around, or what if one is running a one-on-one session where NPCs are helping a solitary player? What then? It is here that I must give homage to Professor Dungeon Master and his take on running this dungeon. His insight and wisdom here are invaluable. If you want to be a good dungeon master, then I suggest you look into his channel. I have included a link to this very dungeon covered by him in the description below. I strongly recommend his channel to any dungeon master looking to up their game. However, I most recently ran this dungeon with my niece, in a one-on-one in which she had several NPC allies, some of whom were secretly working against her character. Having been unprepared for the session myself due to time constraints, I ran the encounter from memory, removing the fire beetles and scourges, and since I didn't have a map to refer to, I also, instead of direction confusion, simply stated that everywhere she went, she could turn left or right. The passage would then proceed to just beyond her vision range where it once again would then turn left and right. I rolled 1d6 for each character and NPC. On a roll of 1, that player got separated from the group. On a roll of 6, being separate rolls for each separated group or individual, one of them would encounter the Minotaur, who was actively hunting them. But once encountered, the Minotaur would only make a couple of attacks, then disengage into the maze. I would do this for 3 or 4 times while gauging her body language. The separation of the party created a rising tension as they called out to each other, sometimes getting nearer, other times getting further away, and all the while echoing throughout the cavern. There were sounds of battle, roaring, and cries echoing throughout the maze, sometimes nearer, sometimes farther. Occasionally, she would come across a dropped lantern or a piece of equipment she recognized as belonging to the party, and all the while she ran in pursuit in an effort to rescue and aid her comrades, only, and when I decided the time was right, to have her come face to face with the cunning beast, which was waiting for her around the corner. Her comrades would then come to her aid a round or two later, but only to be betrayed at the worst possible moment, when the betrayers and the Minotaur begin talking about how best to deal with them. This is how a dungeon master creates a memorable session, one that is talked about for years to come. What did she think of this session? She replied something to the effect of, "Oh my god, that was awesome. I enjoyed that one more than all the other dungeons." Not a bad result despite having only 4 hours of sleep, no preparation, and running it from memory. Again, such skill comes with experience. I'm sorry to say that the DDO team missed a unique opportunity. The following epic in boredom is what you can expect. Of all the Caves of Chaos encounters, I like this one the least. Do you think they might need an adventure writer? Should I send them my resume? I'll let you decide. You were watching Dungeons & Dragons Online, and we are here at the Keep on the Borderlands, ready to begin our next quest, which is the treasure hunt. It's going to be a short adventure. We'll go ahead and actually let's get our daily dice taken care of here. And a +3 grade Tomb of Wisdom, which, interestingly enough, no, I don't want to sneak. I need my inventory tab. There we go. Let's take a look at this. Rare and powerful article increases instruction improving perception and application of knowledge, but entwined with the words of a powerful magic effect that permanently increases a +2 inherent bonus to a +3. You must have a +2 inherent bonus to wisdom from using a tomb or upgrade tomb in order to use this item. Well, okay, I can't use this, but I can get the 1500 XP. There we go. So let's go find a place to put that tome. Where's the bank? Bank should be around the corner. Okay, we're on our way. A few minutes later.
The door behind you seals shut as you enter. There's now only one way to go. Forward. That's fine with you, as this cave is said to contain much treasure. A burly Minotaur stands behind a magical barrier, guarding a pile of treasure. Always more. Always more. The Minotaur snorts. Greed draws you adventurers like moths to the flame. Have fun starving in my cave with the treasure just out of reach. This crest matches one of the sockets on the Minotaur's barrier. There must be more somewhere in the cave. The webs that cover the walls of this part of the cave quiver for an instant. Then, a massive spider lunges out of the shadows. This should be enough crests to fill all of the sockets on the Minotaur's barrier. With all 3 crests neatly fitted into their sockets, the magical barrier fades. The infuriated Minotaur gives a roar of rage and attacks. The Minotaur's bellow is cut short as it collapses. Now the treasure the creature had been guarding is yours for the taking.
A few minutes later, you have returned, the first of your kind to do so. Well done. You may keep what you found at the treasury as your reward. Better it fall into the hands of those who fight for good, rather than remain in the hands of those who use it for evil. In fact, take this. It is my own personal reward for your deeds. I think out of all of these, probably the soothing necklace, because it will eventually give me spell power, but it'll give me +4 heal checks. And let's see, let's go to the Castellan. Norwith Colm. I trust you found that Minotaur encounter rewarding, huh, Razagar? But on to other matters. It's time we dealt with the local orcs. To complicate matters, there are 2 different tribes of them. Speak with Sarda S11 to learn more. The more orc tribes, the merrier. I'll take care of them. And it is at this point we finally come to an end to this tedious adventure. Going forward, the orc caves, both of them, are going to be a lot more fun and much more to reminisce about in the coming episode. So, we survived. You will survive. But I hope this shows you what you can do with the dungeon and what you don't want to do with the dungeon. Take care, and thanks for watching.